Live. Hello guys, welcome. I'm Hugo, publishing manager at Voodoo. I'm here with Thomas.
Hey guys, I'm also a publishing manager. It's great to be here with you for this live. We're looking forward to it.
A lot of stuff happened last week. Yeah. First of all, I shaved my hair. Then France won the World Cup, and we have a big issue with the Facebook API on the dashboard. We are really pissed off about it, but we are doing our best to fix it. So for the moment, basically, we are not able to launch any campaign and create any campaign on Facebook. Developer, this problem, we found the problem basically, and it should be fixed in 2 days. Yeah, that's it for the main issue. The main subject we want to talk to you about today are first of all how to start from an experience in order to create a game. We want to talk to you about that because we see that on the dashboard, and all the games that you are showing us are all looking basically the same, and it lacks a little bit of originality. And your gameplay should be more unique. Thomas will talk a lot about it later. And then I'll speak about unicorns. This is a new typology of game that we found out. This is totally linked with the start from an experience method, which is basically games like All.io, Helix, or Snake vs. Block, games that are disruptive in the industry, a game that are game changer, if I would say. So let's start with the start from an experience method. And after you, Thomas.
Thanks, Hugo. So yeah, because the dashboard is down, it's a good time to start thinking about some new games and prototyping again. And we really noticed that one of the most successful ways that a studio, like you guys, can prototype a new game is not to start from a game that already exists and try to modify a tiny thing, because then it's just the same game as all the other, games on the market. Is to actually try to find something really innovative, but not just in the gameplay, but really in the feeling that you're giving the player. My favorite example, like to illustrate this, is we have a game called Flying Arrow that was actually created when the developer saw Robin Hood, and in Robin Hood exactly, he shoots an arrow that goes through the trees, and the camera's on the arrow, and it goes right in the middle of the target. And he saw that and said, "Oh, that's an awesome game. How can I make this? How can I take that feeling of flying through the trees with an arrow? How can I turn it into the best game possible?" So he made an incremental type game. It's not the only way you can make it. Everything's possible. Shooting for the target.
Yeah, basically the methodology here would be it's very simple. You list all the experience, all the feeling, all the stuff that you have in your day-to-day life that are satisfying. It's really linked to the satisfying. It can come from, I don't know, smoking cigarettes, vacuum stuff, to, I don't know, shooting an arrow. And then you try to gamify this type of experience. Simple as that. You can gamify it with making it a runner, a .io, or something totally new. It's also possible.
A tab game, anything you want. Any type of gameplay is possible. So really look anywhere walking down the street. If it's snowing outside, that can give you a good example. If you're walking on ice, you can have an example for that. Take that feeling and try to turn it into a game. And that's the way you can get the highest possible retentions and the lowest possible CPI.
So basically, to sum up, we have 3 methodologies to create the game. The first one is the model and improve. So find a game that is already on the store, and add all the basic guidelines, YouTubeable, snackable, etc., make it more forgiving. The second one is the merge. So you find 2 gameplays on the store and you try to merge them to create a third one. So it asks for more creative thinking. And the third one is the one that asks for the most creative thinking, is the start from an experience. But this is also the one that will give you most reward the day you launch it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of links into also what you wanted to say about the unicorns, is that the more risk you take with the more creative and new and innovative ideas, the larger reward you can reap when you actually publish the game and it becomes very viral and exciting. And I think that's really what Hugo wanted to talk about with the unicorn.
Yes, with the unicorns, I want to talk about mostly about women. All of you are talking a lot, asking a lot of questions about how to should I make my game more feminine and how to do it. So how to create a unicorn. For the moment, we are still digging, still looking for insight. We'll let you know, probably create a Loom video later that we put on the dashboard. For the moment, all I can tell you is the only thing we know, which is the first is to use this methodology, start from an experience. And the second one is to do your best to do not have a game that is 100% feminine, but have a game that is well balanced. We found out that most of our hit, and specifically most of the game that we are testing with us, or your game, are 99% targeting men. And
too violent.
Yeah, yes. All the games are really targeting masculine audience, and the most successful games are not the ones that are 99% masculine, but the ones that are 50-50 or 60-40, 60-40. We found out after doing some research that Antonin did, by the way, that the way to have a more balanced gameplay game is to add rhythm, a notion of rhythm. So Splashy, for example, has the rhythm with the ball that bounce on the floor at a certain rhythm, which is a good point. Also having pastel color and using the primary color. Yeah. Sometimes also use color as a challenge, just like in Color Road. So you have to match red to red, blue to blue, etc., etc. And what is the third one?
Pauses also.
Pauses,
like the pause.
Pauses.
Having a gameplay that's not like so in your face that you're always reacting to stuff, but you can also take a time to breathe. Pick the best road, and the good example of this is Helix Jump, where you can stay on the platform, figure out where you are, and then start again. So gameplay that's not forcing you to play all the time.
Basically, avoid stress and make them really, really forgiving. It's more like an experience rather than a game. Allow the player to take a break, even stop talking to your friend, and then go back to the game. You need to know that most of the people, when they are playing, they are doing something else. They are not playing, they are not 100% focused on the game. This is why we need to make it really forgiving and really satisfying at any time. Yeah. Most of them they are watching, I don't know, Game of Thrones or Wild Wild Country, really nice shows on Netflix.
Endorsement.
And they do the same. They play, they watch, they play, they watch. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, they don't speed run the games that we make. It's when we say snackable, that's also part of the thing. You have to pick, stop, pick, stop.
Yeah. So Justin, to answer your question, demographically speaking, what is the male-female breakdown of Voodoo customer? In the unicorn, so the best one, Snake vs Block, Helix, even all, it's 50-50 or 60-40 in average. But in all the games that you are sending to us, and most of the games that you are doing, it's 99% masculine. So you need to think more on how to attract women into your game.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. We actually have a lot of questions in the chat about feminine games, so it's really cool that we're touching on the subject. Just briefly, I wanted to answer Sartak Madan, who was asking, for feminine games, would Voodoo be open to accepting dress-up style arcade games? Yeah, I mean, if you make a dress-up style arcade game that works, that could be really, really cool. So really, don't hesitate to suggest. It has to be hyper casual, though. You have to keep it, system one, simple, intuitive. But if you can do that, then we'd love to test it. We'd love to see it and to see the results.
Yeah, one trap in which you should not fall is putting kitten, putting pink stuff, putting like cliche of what women would like. It's really not working, guys. The only thing you have to think about a gameplay that would fit basically not just women, but a balanced one between men and women. So and that would be, as we said, about the rhythm, also using color, and be allowed to not be stressful and allow for pauses. Only that. Also, idle games are historically really masculine, targeting a really masculine audience.
More than 99%.
We don't tell you to forget about idle games or incremental games. Idle would be a Willy Crush, incremental would be Baseball Boy. We don't tell you to stop about it, but you should focus more on arcade games, runners, Helix type of game, Snake versus Block type of game, or even .io game, which are much more mass market and have a better balance between men and women. Idle games are really masculine.
Incremental games as well. There we go.
Of such game, which sorry Junior, but can you specify? Do you have any example of such game? What are you talking about exactly?
Well, while he answers, I have a question from LolDev. Are sports working okay with women? So as Hugo just said, it's not the best if you want a really balanced demographic for your game. You have to be really looking at more arcade, skill based, like we talked about. Sports games historically, the ones we've had are very masculine.
Look at what we are all doing. All the games that are doing it are the ones that are minimalist and also a little bit abstract. When you are playing a hit game, specifically one coming from Voodoo, it's always really you are in a little bit in another world. You know, you are not. It's not that realistic. It's really you are somewhere else. You know, and it's minimalist. And
you get taken in by the game, and that's also the reason why that rhythm in Splashy is so important. You get taken in by it. It's very addictive. There's that nice rhythm which is always the same, and you know you get lost. You get lost in the game.
Yeah.
A quick question from Brightstar89. Is a draw mechanic good with women? I mean, theoretically, yeah, of course, it can be really successful. Of course, the game has to be, well made and has to feature, the design has to be, as Hugo said, with the colors that he mentioned. But yeah, theoretically, it can be really cool.
Also, before we finish this live stream, I would like to talk to you about what is basically your life in the dashboard. We know that some of you can feel a little bit lost. It's normal. We struggle a little bit to having the right stream of communication because it's really technically difficult for us. But we want to reassure you and tell you that we are tracking what you are doing, most of you and all of you actually. And every time you are doing a game that has huge potential, you can be contacted by a publishing manager that will give you the proper feedback in order to improve your game. So really don't be discouraged, keep going to send prototype, keep looking, take a look at the Loom videos, continue to benchmark and to improve what you do, the type of prototype that you are making. We always have an eye on you guys, you are not alone.
Every single game that you've ever sent us has been checked by us, accepted by us. We've checked it again before testing to make sure the video fitted to give the game the best chance. As Hugo said, we're working really hard to bring more content and more communication, and we hope that it's going to come as soon as possible.
Yeah. And also one thing we wanted to tell you is that our goal in the middle term would be to really create a community with you guys because you are just awesome. It's really we really love to see you interact with each other. I think you have a lot to learn from each other, from all your experience, and not only from us and what we tell you. So it's really in the mid-term, not even in the short term, but just to let you know that this is one of our goals, to build a community that you are already building actually, but giving you the right tools and the right feature in the dashboard in the future so that you can really interact together.
I think that's it for us.
Yeah, I think that's it. Maybe one last question from
Satak Madan, which is interesting. Are quests and challenges effective for feminine games? Well, now the question is quests and challenges effective for any type of game?
Yeah.
Because the more we go forward and, we do add skins and challenges and achievements to our games once they've been published, the more we actually see that less and less people than we thought click on that button. So in essence, the changes that you make to a game and the improvements that you make to a game should really always be about the core gameplay. Because that's what 100% of your players are going to see. That's the only thing every single one of your players is ever going to see. If you add quests and challenges, it's not just that you're going to get more women or more men. It's just not a lot of people are going to actually click and go play it. So, the answer is just in general, quests and challenges might not be that interesting. And I don't know if you agree, but I would personally recommend to kind of lay it off a little bit, especially doing prototyping. It's absolutely not necessary doing prototyping. You shouldn't take the time to do it and just focus on core gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, one question about homemade game. We have issue with dashboard that prevent us to request testing and we cannot get them from the support. To be really clear with you guys, the support right now, we don't have anybody that can answer you directly to the support. We are just collecting all the requests and then implement new features to answer your request. So it's normal if you don't have a direct answer coming from the support. Once again, this is something we are working on and that will be available pretty soon.
Yep.
One last question and then we are good.
About day one design?
Yeah.
Okay. One question from JF Trujillo. Sorry for the pronunciation. It's interesting because how do you calculate day 1, day 7 based on game analytics service? So that's an interesting question. The tests are shorter now. They're just 4 days. There's quite a few reasons for this. I think we spoke about it during the last live stream. And I think there's a video on this as well. So I really invite you to go check the dashboard. But to explain how it's calculated, because it's always interesting. Every day that we test, we collect a certain group of users that we're going to call a cohort, and it tracks the performance in retention of that cohort through the whole of the 7 days. So we can test for 4 days and still get 4 valid day 1s, 4 valid day 2s, 4 valid day 3s, etc. For the game, and that's how we can calculate an accurate average of day 1 to day 7 for your game. And you can really do the same looking at game analytics, just go and check your retention. It's really important, and I think it really helps for you to make better games if you really understand the way the data is, how to read the data. And I think there's some content on the dashboard already, but for sure, if it's necessary, we'll create some more content for you to read it better.
Yeah. Do not hesitate to use games analytics. We focus at Voodoo on the retention, but you have the ownership to also go dig a little bit more into the data.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Keep going. It's a real pleasure to be working with you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And
for next steps, I think next week we're gonna have a new live stream.
Same time, right?
Same time, same day. And as always, we're always preparing some new stuff for you guys, so that there's some more content on the way. So we'll let you know as soon as we have something really cool to show you.
Thank you very much.
Bye guys. Thanks.
Cheers.